All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a massive question. How do we live on our planet right now without bankrupting the future? It's really a question of survival, and it all comes down to one thing: how we manage our natural resources.
You know, this quote, it really gets to the very heart of what we're talking about. It completely reframes the whole conversation. It's not about ownership, it's about stewardship. We're not just inheriting the earth, we're borrowing it from the next generation.
So, that idea of borrowing from the future, it leads us straight to the central challenge, the big question we're digging into today. How do we use what we need to survive and thrive without completely wrecking the systems that future generations will depend on? Honestly, figuring this out is one of the biggest jobs of our time.
Okay, so why the big rush? Let's get into the hard facts here. This isn't some abstract problem for a far-off future. The pressures are building right now, and we have to understand that we are living in a world of limits.
The pressure comes from a few key places. First off, our resources are finite, but the global population just keeps growing. That alone creates a huge imbalance. Then you've got the overuse, which leads to pollution and drives climate change. But you know what the real kicker is? It's the timescale. Nature's clock just doesn't tick nearly as fast as ours.
And this, right here, is the core of the problem. You can cut down a tree in a few minutes, but for a forest to grow back, we're talking decades, sometimes centuries. Our consumption happens at the speed of a machine, but nature's recovery happens at the speed of life. That gap, that's the problem we have to solve.
This whole imbalance forces us to a crossroads. We have a really clear choice to make, and each path leads to a vastly different future. Let's take a look at these two paths.
So the first path is exploitation. This is all about taking as much as you can, as fast as you can, for short-term profit. Think of overfishing a species until it's gone. The other path? That's sustainability. It's about a long-term plan that balances the environment, society, and the economy. It's really the difference between a one-time cash grab and a lasting inheritance.
Now, it's super important to understand that sustainable management isn't about locking resources away and never touching them. It's about using them wisely, making sure there's enough for us today, enough for those who come after us, and enough for the planet that keeps us all alive.
Okay, so we've defined the problem and we've set the goal. So how do we actually do this? Let's get into the practical strategies, the actual toolbox we can use to build a more sustainable tomorrow.
On a personal level, a great place to start is with the 5 R's. Now, we hear a ton about recycling, but just look at the order here. The most powerful action you can take is the very first one: refuse. Just avoiding the creation of waste in the first place is, by far, the most effective strategy we have. Now, if we apply that kind of thinking to our forests, we're talking about smart strategies like selective cutting instead of clear cutting and preventing forest fires. But probably the most important piece of the puzzle is empowering local communities. A really powerful example of this is the Chipko movement in India, where local women literally hugged trees to stop them from being cut down. It's a vivid reminder that the best guardians of a resource are often the people who live right there with it.
And that same logic applies to what is maybe our most precious resource of all: water. Simple things like rainwater harvesting and super efficient drip irrigation can make a massive difference. But it's also about managing the whole system, from the watershed all the way down to the tap, and crucially, stopping pollution right at the source.
But here's the thing. It's not always as simple as just picking the green option. In the real world, sustainable management means dealing with really complex trade-offs. It's a great balancing act.
Just take dams, for example. Are they a boon or a bane? Well, it's complicated. On one hand, you get clean energy, water for farms, and flood control. But on the other hand, they can displace entire communities and destroy ecosystems. It's a perfect example of this dilemma, a solution that also creates a whole new set of problems.
So, who gets to decide? The reality is, real-world management is a constant negotiation. Industries are looking for raw materials. Farmers need water. Conservationists are fighting to protect ecosystems. And local communities? They just want to preserve their way of life. True sustainability isn't about finding one perfect answer. It's about finding a balance that can work for all these competing interests.
And that's what this all boils down to, really.
We're not just managing trees or water. We're managing a complex web of human needs and environmental limits. And figuring out how to navigate that complexity, well, that's our shared responsibility. The guiding principle for all of this is a concept called sustainable development. It's actually a simple but incredibly powerful idea: that the progress we make today shouldn't come at the expense of tomorrow. It's about building a better world now while making sure future generations have the chance to do the same.
So, who holds the key to making this all work? Well, while governments and big industries are definitely part of it, lasting change so often comes from the ground up. Local communities have that deep, firsthand knowledge and a direct investment in their environment. Empowering them isn't just a nice idea, it's often the single most effective strategy we've got.
And so we end up right back where we started. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a technical challenge, it's a moral one. The world we live in is borrowed from our children. And the real question we have to ask ourselves is this: when we return it, will it be in better condition than when we received it? That choice is made in the thousands of decisions we all make every single day.